Hey there, y'all. We're going to talk about something today that is something that a lot of us women over 50, over 60, maybe over 70 deal with. The idea of being invisible. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it a curse? Is it a blessing? We're going to talk about all of that. We're going to unpack it with some sass and some wisdom and a little bit of help from Kathy Bates as she started her new series called Matlock. Now, she uses her invisibility as a superpower. First, let's define this so-called invisibility. I mean, we're still there, but a lot of people look past us at family gatherings, at a store, at public gatherings, at work. Sometimes if you're over 50, it's like you're not there. They don't hear you, they don't see you. I actually got bumped into not long ago because I guess I was invisible. But we can use that. Let's look at the pros and cons and think about the things that are good about it, things that are bad about it, and what we can do about it. One of the great things about suddenly becoming invisible is that we can just shrug off all those shoulds and ought tos that society places on everybody. If you're a certain age, you should do this. If you're a certain age, you should do that. You should look this way. You should dress this way. But if you're invisible, you can do whatever you want to. Look at Kathy Bates. If you've watched this show at all, you see on the very first episode that she uses her being a little old lady, as she describes herself, as something she uses to actually get a job at a big law firm.
Couldn't sleep last night because I was so jazzed about our big win.
It's a very good show. I encourage you to watch it. One of the things we have is freedom to be ourselves. If nobody's watching, we can do whatever we want. Wear your bold lipstick, wear whatever you want. You can just go about your business and nobody bothers you. Another good part is you're free from all the unwanted attention. I don't know about you, but I didn't get a lot of cat calls when I was younger. I mean, I kind of was all the guys' best friend when I was growing up and when I was in high school and in my 20s. Not a whole lot of unwanted attention, but if you did get unwanted attention when you were younger, maybe you were the cheerleader or you stood out in the crowd and there were always a lot of guys bothering you. Now you don't even have to worry about it. Walk down the street, do whatever you want. They don't see us, so we can just be there, do our thing, and not be bothered. This time in our life can be an opportunity for reinvention. It can be a time that, because nobody's paying attention to us, we can start looking into what do we really want. Do you want to start a new hobby? Do you want to build a business? Do you want to do anything that you've thought of? You don't have to worry about people looking at you and judging you and giving you ideas and saying this is what you need to do, this is how you do this, because they're not paying you any attention. So you kind of blend in with the background and do your own thing. So start a bucket list of the things that you've always wanted to do. So maybe take a dance class, maybe learn how to cook something you've never cooked before. Just use this time that is kind of quiet, that people aren't bothering you, and do what you want to do. Invest in self-care. Use this time to take care of yourself, whether it's physically or emotionally. If you want to start a new skincare routine, if you want to start a new exercise class, or just get out and walk in nature, you don't have to be bothered. Now, let's get real. There are some things about being invisible that are kind of upsetting and kind of not good. And that's feeling like you're overlooked, especially by family, by friends that you used to hang out with, or by even people at work. A lot of times women that are older, they aren't taken as seriously as younger people, which is really ridiculous. If they had any sense, they would pay attention to us because we've been around a lot longer. We're a lot wiser and we are not involved in a lot of drama. So we're the ones that can really give the good new ideas. And if we're feeling overlooked by people, it can make us feel undervalued, like we don't matter anymore. But that's not at all true. It can also cause us to have a lack of confidence. It can mess with our self-esteem when people stop listening to us or when people stop paying attention that we're even in the room. And sometimes we can miss opportunities because the younger people in the room are louder and bolder and they've got what seems to be great new ideas and we can be looked over. But this is the time that we can choose to really stand out. This is the time that we can use the element of surprise and say, wait a minute, we tried that back before. I was here, I know. We tried that, it didn't work. So let's try this instead. And your ideas can get put on the front burner instead of somebody who's only been around for a little while. One of the things we can do is speak up. Don't let other people talk over you. I'm not saying yell. I'm not saying be too boisterous. I'm just saying let yourself be heard. If somebody's trying to talk over you, say, "Excuse me, I was speaking." We've heard that before. "I'm speaking, just a moment." And let them know that you do have something to say. You also want to stay connected. You want to stay connected with people at work and also in your personal circle. Don't let those things fall by the wayside. Stay connected with your friend group and a support group of people who know your worth because they've known you for a long time. Another way you can showcase your strengths is to become a mentor for younger people, or do some volunteer work, do some things that make you stand out from the other people. There are a lot of ways we can use to become more visible. There are so many videos on YouTube. Just on YouTube, you can find so much information about your style. How do you want to dress? How do you want to present yourself? There are so many ways that you can make an impression and let people know you are in the room by the way you dress. It can be a simple accessory. It can be a certain kind of shoes. It can be an outfit that you've put together that really accessorizes and accentuates you and who you are and brings forth your personality. Never forget to share your story. You've got decades of experience, whether it's at work, at home, with your kids and grandkids. You've got so many things you've been through, so many things you've overcome. Don't forget to share that story with other people. Share those stories of how to get through adversity, how to make it in a man's world at work, because you've done that. You've come this far. You've got to have gathered plenty of wisdom that's shareable to other people and valuable to them. Remember to stay engaged, whether it's in your community, become active on a community board or in a community group. Whether it's in your family, if you're having a family reunion, don't just sit back in the corner and act like, well, I'm just the old grandma. People really need to hear what you have to say. They need to know the history of your family. They need to know your history and what you've been through. So a couple of things you can do is update your wardrobe. That can sometimes get expensive, but there are ways, and if you go on YouTube, you can also find a lot of videos that give you some tips on how to make a nice wardrobe with just a few pieces that you can mix together and make something that makes a statement of who you are without breaking the bank. Another thing you can do is join a public speaking group. Toastmasters is a great organization. I took a class with them when I was working in an office at one time, and it was very interesting, very helpful. They gave you very specific steps to be able to stand up and talk in front of a group of people. What was great about it is everybody in there was going to give a talk. So it wasn't just you standing up and saying whatever your subject was. It was everybody. So you knew everybody had their turn to get praised and criticized. So it was a very friendly and supportive environment to learn something that you may not have ever done before, which is speak in front of people. And if you can speak in front of a group, you can certainly speak in front of a couple of people at work or a few people in your family. And again, volunteer. Get out there and see some things that you are passionate about. Get involved and see how you can help other people. That will definitely make you stand out, because there's not a lot of people helping other people sometimes, and when you do that, it does make you stand out in a crowd, and it looks good if you're trying to get a job or get a different job on a resume. So what's the verdict? Is invisibility good or bad? Is it a blessing? Is it a curse? It's whatever you make of it. It can be something that can bring out your best in your later years. 50 is not that old anymore. I'm a nurse, and when we get a patient that's 50, we're always saying, she's only 50. So you have to put it in perspective. People are living a lot longer, and once you're 50 or 60, you're still a valuable part of society, whether society sees it or not. Be sure and go to my website. I have a tip sheet that I created with all of these ideas on it. That's something you can have in hand whenever you want to go back and review these ideas to help you stand out. And if you haven't seen last week's video about dating over 50, there's some tips there that'll help you stand out in the crowd as well.
Welcome back now. Yeah.